Hi, this is Heather DeRome from the Sonatas and Partitas.com, and this video is actually not about a sonata and partita movement. It's about the Sarabande from the third cello suite. Guitar is played in A, so that's the key I'm going to use. And what I'd like to do in this video is discuss the two types of Sarabandes, because there are two types, and I also want to discuss this one in particular and how it works with its type, let's say. So the two types of Sarabandes, there's the one like this one where we were all taught that it has an accent on the second beat. The other type of sarabande, guitarists play this one often. That one doesn't have the accent on the second beat all the time. That one works in 2-bar segments. And so the first of those 2 bars has the accent on the second beat, and the second of those 2 bars has an accent on the downbeat, nothing on the second beat, and then it goes and 3 and 1, 2, like that. So we have 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, nothing on the 2, and then 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, like that. So that's that sarabande. Now this sarabande has the accent on the second beat, straight, simple, and clear throughout. So we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, like that. And in the same way that in this sarabande, Bach makes it so clear. It's not like you have to intellectually know it and try to bring it out and be all studious. No, if you just understand how Bach has actually constructed the thing to work, it'll just happen of its own. Because here we have 1, 2, like right away, that second chord is just a magical chord that sings itself out. And then you have a nice accent on the downbeat with a root position chord. And then there's nothing on the second beat, and it goes and 3 and 1, 2, dissonance, 1, 2 with nothing. So it just, if you're aware of it, it works. Now this sarabande, the reason I wanted to make this video is I've noticed that when I'm teaching it, students know they have to accent the second beat, and they work really hard to accent the second beat. And what I wanted to talk about was, how does Bach have it set up so you don't have to work so hard to set up the second beat? Like what's the only little thing you have to be aware of, just like in that other sarabande? Well, the thing is, in this one, Bach has managed it with his use of repeated notes. And so we have A, G, G. And it's almost like he's creating this Lombardic short, long rhythm where you go. And so Bach has created this rhythm not only with the use of the repeated notes where it goes short, long, but that repeated note always happens on a dissonance. So the short note is consonant, and then it's repeated on a dissonance, and then it resolves. So that dissonance also, aside from the fact that that note is repeated, naturally creates its own accent. So if you're playing it from the beginning, so you go 1, 2, 1, 2. So what you could do is you could just give it a tiny bit of articulation before repeating the note. Now, normally, it's a very normal thing when you're going to do a repeated note to make the first one shorter. Like you go, no, like that kind of takes away from it. So, you know, in something with the emotional intent of a sarabande, you're not going to play it like a flirty little dance, let's say. So you still want to give it its grandeur, but you can just give it that tiny bit of an articulation before playing the note. Now, another way that you can accent a note is to play it a tiny, tiny, tiny bit too late. Now, you won't want to do this all the time, but for example, you can do it at the end. So yeah, 1, 2, of think of this ending as Bach is having himself a little bit of fun. Like normally you could just go, but no, he actually repeats the note again. So he really does this Lombardic rhythm, which I think to me is one of these so inconspicuous but really magical moments in this in the Sarabande. Now to go back, I just want to look at other ways that you can bring out that accent on the second beat. Like how did Bach do that? So we have the repeated notes. Another way to accent is to play something quieter. If you play quieter, people are going to listen in closely. And then here, well, what Bach has, everything's by step. It's all close. And then there's a leap. Well, that leap is like a new voice coming in. So that's the end of the phrase. So that phrase ends on the second beat. So you can play the beat a little bit later. Definitely I would play it quieter. I wouldn't go like that. But here, and so we've started off in A and we've made our way to E. We have a half cadence on E. Whenever Bach goes somewhere and he arrives, the first thing he always does is leave. And so I just think this one little measure has so much magic in it. There's a phrase ending, and here's a new phrase beginning, and then like this E, D, C. To me, it would be so easy to just play this like metronomically going like that. But it's like here we're arriving, and now it's almost like somebody's just going, come on, let's go over here. And then so we go over here, and then right away, Bach picks up again with the repeated notes. A repeated A. And now we're getting to the cadence, so he's going to change it up a bit. And then the cadence. We have that repeated note at the cadence. Now, in the second half, there's another thing I want to touch on with the Sarabandes. Like, people talk about these dances as being stylized dances. They are dances that weren't really meant to be danced to. And that question always really tantalized me, because how could I possibly write a waltz that no one could dance to? If it's a waltz, you can waltz to it. But here, apparently, Bach wrote a Sarabande that you couldn't really dance a Sarabande to. And so what I did was I went onto YouTube and I played several Bach Sarabandes, and I played them along with YouTube dancers. And what happens is that there's a part at the end of Bach Sarabandes that goes on beyond the dances every time. And so in the second half here, there's more emotional intensity, but that allusion to the Lombardic rhythm with those repeated notes and the dissonance resolving from the second and third beat is still there. Right up until here. We're alerted that something's going to change. And that takes us to this beautiful cadence with a really strong sense of arrival on B minor. So this is where the Sarabande proper ends. And I think it's amazing because now he's done it one more time with his repeated note. And now it just changes completely. It's like, instead of having this Lombardic dance, it's like suddenly there's an operatic aria or something with that kind of expression. There's no more strong accent on the second beat. The repeated notes are finished, and even harmonically, there isn't that stress on the second beat anymore. It's just like this part till the end is kind of like an afterthought on the Sarabande. And so if you've wondered about this so-called mixed style, it's exemplified really well in both of these Sarabandes. They're the same. The Sarabande proper ends about 8 measures before the end, and then the Sarabande rhythm really changes for those last 8 bars. It's just like the music is much more lyrical, and it's like Bach is mixing this really emotional, lyrical music. And the Sarabande rhythm is not there so much anymore. And this mixed style started before Bach, but Bach is the person who really brought it to its highest manifestation. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you'd like to find more, subscribe to the channel. You can turn on the notifications at our Sonatas and Partitas website. We also have a newsletter, non-promotional, that you can subscribe to and find out when new resources are added. And if you'd like to get copies of the score, they're also available on our website. And so all that can be found at sonatasandpartitas.com.